Welcome, everybody. It's good to see you all. We're very, very pleased and privileged to have Timmy Connors here from India, and we have Vladimir Shevchenko from Ukraine. These guys have both run virtual conferences for their national associations in the last couple of months, very successfully. We only know what went well, so we were also trying to learn today what went well, what didn't go so well, and what might go better, in order to share their experience with us. Okay, Timothy. Well, Tim and I have known each other a very, very long time, since we were young, and from my early days in India and coming to his center, Breakthrough, and involved in CCI. So it's a joy to have him with us. And Timmy, over to you.
Thank you so much, Norman. And it's such a privilege and honor to be amongst all the stars. I know it's Christmas time. We see a lot of stars all over the place. But right now I'm seeing so many stars from the Christian camping galaxy, if I could use that word. So it's such an honor and privilege to be here. I'm also delighted to have two of my bodyguards here, Ruth and Arun, with me. So, so if I'm sinking, they're going to be pulling me up and adding to what I'm saying, because they put in a lot of hard work in making our conference, a success. So, in fact, most of the work was done by both of them and a couple of others. So I'm just going to quickly share one document, and so that it will provoke our thoughts, our discussions, a document that was put together by Arun so beautifully, which actually gives you the big picture of what we did at our conference, who were the people involved, what roles they played. It's all in one big document. So I'll use that to jumpstart our discussion. So this is the just a context on our conference in India, Indian Christian Camping Association. We actually run conferences every year. So our sort of our name or our theme for the conference is Connect. So every year we have Connect 2019, Connect 2020, whatever the year is, because for us, that connection is so important. It's so crucial for networking. So we've kept that name throughout. But this year was very special to us because it was our 10-year celebration as well. We were disappointed we couldn't have it in real time or face-to-face, thanks to our COVID pandemic situation. But we did make the best of it. And we are planning as follow-up of our conference to celebrate as we go along the coming months. But that's the context. So our conference revolved around two things. One, celebration of our 10 years. We kept that as the background. And two, what do our camps in India actually need? These two actually drove our decision to choose certain content, to choose speakers, to choose workshops. So we didn't just focus on the celebration alone, the 10 years, but we noticed, in fact, we all had our concerns of having camps, no revenue coming in, no impact happening. So we took that into consideration when we were actually designing the content as well and selecting the speakers as well. So you would see speakers, if you look and if you know some of the speakers, you'll know that some of them are from people who helped us get this far. They were our mentors. They were our people who started Christian camping in India, people like Rod Gilbert, big influence like Norman, Robin Paul, and so many people who helped bring ICCA to where it is right now. So we kept them for the celebration and the reflection and the motivation that we need to keep going for another 10 years. So they were the ones who actually focused on that part. And the rest of the speakers, the workshops revolved around the needs of the camping ministries that were needed. For example, things like, the right person for the right job. A person spoke on that because we noticed that Sometimes it's our Christian campsites or our Christian camping ministries don't have a real structure for recruiting people. You know, many of them recruit from suitability rather than criteria, which is okay, So how can we challenge them to, have the right person for the right job? The job versus calling situation was also one of the things. Some of our campsites don't have proper SOPs. So that focused, another workshop was on SOPs. So the content was chosen based on these two themes, celebration and need of the hour that was there. We had about 100 registrations, but not all 100 logged in at the same time because of various reasons. Maybe they couldn't log in at the same time. But we had on an average about 40, 50 logging in approximately. And Arun and Ruth can correct me if I'm wrong, for various sessions throughout. We had it for 3 days, and we did, however, select the timing very carefully, keeping the Indian context in mind, because many of them are working from home. Some of them have a dual kind of a job role where they're working in other offices, but at the same time, very much involved with Christian camping. So we were keeping those concerns when we decided the timing of our program. And we tried as much as possible to keep the times according to if we were to run the camp or the conference in a real setting without the COVID scenario, we kept those timings as well. Like if you read, the devotion was early in the morning and very early for our international guests. So, it was there. We tried to keep that format as far as possible. So the timing was, again, a struggle for us to choose. We also realized that people do not sit for long virtual sessions, So based on some research and other things that are happening, we nailed it down to maybe approximately 2 hours per session, per thing. It may be plus or minus 30 minutes, but 2 hours was a general guideline to have. We found that people get tuned off or they get distracted and actually log off the call. So we kept that as a guideline for our timings. And it was quite interesting because in the 3 days, on an average, we had per day 2 plenary sessions, maybe 2 workshops. Then we had sponsor videos, and then we had these beautiful reflection times of people who have helped us get this far. People like Rod Gilbert, Norman, and others, Ken, and all of them actually. In fact, Ken was part of a workshop also. But we had these reflections, and then we closed with a time of prayer. So it was a nice flow where we had the workshops later in the day, and we closed with a time of prayer where somebody led us with different prayer points, and we closed with prayer. To make this all happen, there was a lot of technology involved, which we had to learn in the process. We were not all experts. We did some research. We wanted to outsource it, but it was too costly to do that. So Zoom was the best option. It was the cheapest option and the most flexible one that we could use. So Zoom was like a unanimous decision taken, and we used Zoom as a platform to run our conference. But we had people to help us technically. Arun was the main host of the whole conference. And he had to learn a lot of things as well from the technology point of view. And we've had people who know technical stuff, like Moses, who was a troubleshooter. If you see the roles up there, these are the roles that our volunteers played. So we had about approximately 10 volunteers, but maybe 4 or 5 who were there at all times. They played co-host roles. We've had backups. So while Arun was down south in India, the content was also backed up with Sam, who was way up north. So if Arun's internet fails, Sam can share certain things. and the conference would go on. So we had at least minimum two backups. Sometimes there was a third, especially with pre-recorded sessions. We had two sessions. There were pre-recorded sessions as well as live interactive sessions. So the pre-recorded was mainly international speakers like Rod, who recorded his talk. And we had one or two workshops, if I remember right, as a pre-recorded. Now, and worship was also pre-recorded, looking at Zoom, we know if you have a live worship, the internet lag times and stuff would, very, very disoriented to have someone singing and someone else singing. It will be almost like an echo. So we played pre-recorded worship music, but we had our chapter groups actually contributing to it. So we didn't just pull it off YouTube. We had people actually recording their worship sessions and using it on our conference. The other thing that we found was the advantage over live versus pre-recorded. It's the question answer time. It's when someone wanted to ask a question to the speaker, then we would have to take it down, get his email. If none of us over there who could answer it, then we had to send it to the speaker for them to email their answer later. So that was a big disadvantage between pre-recorded and a live speaker or a workshop. So we found that a big of an issue. But the nice thing and what made all this happen was our volunteers. Where we had 3 MCs for rotation throughout the 3 days. So we rotated the roles of the MCs for the session so that they don't get tired or stressed out or fatigued throughout the 3 days. And we also rotated the co-hosts whose roles they played. They had various roles to play. One was, troubleshooting. One was, just inviting people in, networking with people, answering question and answers, helping with the question answer time, looking at the chat and taking down the question so that they could remind the speaker this was a question there. They would type it up quickly onto a slide, share it to the speaker and get answers from the speaker. So we had people on a rotation basis. And I think our strength and our success of the program was our volunteers. I think that's a big help from them. Many of them were not seen on the call, but they were the unsung heroes of our conference. So I think all credit goes to them. And the preparation time, I think we seriously prepared maybe 1.5 months before the conference. That's typical of all of us back home, where we do these last minute preparations. But we started early, 3 months, but 1.5 months is where we went full steam ahead in preparing, organizing stuff. And what we need to remember is that Arun was sitting with 2 systems, with the UPS backup, with everything. Everything had a contingency plan. If this fails, it moves to another system. If this fails, goes to another person. So that was the very crucial element that we actually planned into the conference. Having backup plans, every stage, every work. Videos were shared to a couple of people. So if it doesn't work for one person, another person can share it. And that was the flexibility that our team had. The other thing that I would like to say is that we also used some added technology for streaming videos because of Zoom. Sometimes the bandwidth creates a lag. So we used another software, which is vMix, which you can get it. You can even purchase it. Or if you plan your conference for the free trial period for 1 month, you could run it during that time. But that helps the videos to minimize the lag on the videos. It helps a better, stronger signal. There's more, the smoothness of the video and the audios sync very well if you use vMix. We found that helpful for us. It's an added software. Oh, the other thing that I would like to share with everyone is the fact that one of the things, even if you are sitting at home, is to make sure that everybody had a stable internet connection. It's very crucial, especially if you're leading a session, if you're emceeing, or if you're a key person in the workshop. Please ensure that you have a stable internet running. And some of us even used little routers, UPS routers UPS is for routers, so that your internet, even if the power goes off, which goes off many times in India, the internet would still work. So there are little things like that people were using so that our internet is there and we could keep running the conference. Well, did we have problems? Yes, we did have problems. We had some of the interactions were not as much as we liked, because some of the participants could not turn on the videos because they were either on a mobile phone or their internet was not good. So we would love to see more face-to-face, but that's a big disadvantage unless everybody has good videos, good internet. Some of them were using mobile data, so the internets were not so good, so they couldn't turn on their videos. So that was a little sad for us, because we like to see people's faces and interact with them as well. So that's the big picture of what we did back there. But this planning sheet, I'm going to send it to Vicky. And if you want, she could actually send it to all of you so that you'll get an idea. And you could use, there's no copyright. You could use the same format. Like we say in India, there's no copyright. There's only right to copy. So you could take this and use it. Just give credit to Arun. Arun was the guy who actually put this all together. So it's amazing what he did. And Ruth did all the content work and all the back-end stuff. So if you want to add anything, Ruth or Arun, please go ahead and add. Otherwise, I just want to open it up for questions.
Great. Well, thank you so much, Timmy, and Ruth and Aaron on here. Let's take a couple of questions. We have got a question about the document, what some of the phrases mean. TSR MC123, what do they mean?
Yeah, that TSR actually took me by surprise, but I realized it late in the day. They are the initials of the 3 MCs. So Timmy, Sam, and Ruth.
Ah.
So it was a highly contextualized kind of a plan. So
I think I would say like a big part was the clarity also of everything. Like even though the board was putting ideas and we met to discuss things and really like the detail of it, it was very clear that Arun was putting the schedule together. Arun was connecting with the speakers, with the resource people, with the volunteers. Like there was so much of clarity, I think, that was given significance during this conference. So we knew who was in charge. We knew even in terms of at the conference, it was very clear to the delegates. If this happens, this is who you contact. If you have a question, send it to this person. If you are struggling with video, if you're having if you need tech support, contact this person. So I think everything was just very clear. Even between the volunteers, we had a meeting prior and we talked about if people ask you this is how you handle it. So there was so much of clarity and also options. So while the conference was going on, we decided we'd also have like a WhatsApp group running alongside. So if tech things were going wrong, we would post there rather than post it on the main chat. So we were given, so there was clarity, but there was also options presented to everyone. So that was also like helped it go.
I mean, I felt from that conference and also the Canada one, having a host was very important. A host to introduce the speaker, to do the housekeeping side of things, also to manage the question and answers. And in other cases, to introduce the videos and the people behind them. It just gave a degree of context and background, which was very useful. And you sort of felt it was managed, as it were. It was well managed in those situations. We'll now hand over to Vladimir. And Vladimir, just if you'd share a little bit about your experience with your team in your conference.
Okay, then hello everyone once again. I'm Vladimir Shevchenko, married to Vera for nearly 25 years, and we have 2 grown-up sons. I'm CEO of CCI Ukraine, which is turning 25 next year, as well as our family. And CCI Ukraine is responsible for and active in 6 countries of the former Soviet Union. And I personally have been actively involved with CCI for now 28 years. We will take a look at a video now that we used as an advertising, as one small piece of advertising for our conference. You know, in 2020, we at CCI Ukraine have held 240 hours of online training. When we counted that, we were just amazed ourselves. And it was about 4,500 camp leaders who attended from 27 countries, kind of unexpected year. And here we are going to focus on 2 major conferences that we've run this year. They were different format, and we'll compare them. The first big event we ran was in April and May, and it took us 5 weeks. It was Camp Days. That's the name of our annual big staff training camp for camp leaders. The purpose was to train and to inspire our camp leaders in the context of lockdown, in the context of uncertainty. So 370 participants attended. We were quite inexperienced at that time, so we allowed plenty of time for corrections between classes. So we were happy to spread out the conference for 5 weeks. We had 4 classes a week during that first conference, 2 classes on Tuesday evenings and 2 classes on Thursday evenings, and a virtual camp chapel every Friday evening. Plus 2 Saturdays, we had intensive sessions, 8 hours each session, each Sunday, each Saturday. As a result of our inspiration and training, we hope there were 150 camps that operated offline in Ukraine, and 25 camps offered their programs online this past summer. And the other major event was our annual conference, Recamp, in early November. And unlike the first one spread out over 5 weeks, this one was 3 full days. During the 3 days of the conference, we offered 7 tracks, 15 hours each track, and all 7 tracks were running at the same time. And the opening and the closing sessions were at the beginning of the 3-day program, and the closing session at the end of the 3-day program. There were over 400 attendees. Half of them attended live, and the other half paid the registration fee to watch the recorded sessions at their own convenience. As far as the outcomes are concerned, we'll see the outcomes in 2021, that's next year. And now let's look at the platform. As well as our brothers and sisters from India, we also chose Zoom. Before we started, we carefully looked at and tested several platforms and ended up choosing Zoom because it provided the best value for money. And also by then, many people had used Zoom at work and in school. So for our camp leaders, it was a more or less familiar platform. In May, during our first conference, during our virtual training camp for camp leaders, as I said, we did webinars twice a week. In the evenings, it was on Tuesday and Thursdays. For counselors, we did the program at 5:30 p.m. and for program leaders at 7 p.m. And then on Fridays, we had our weekly Camp Chapel programs. In November, for our annual conference, we decided at first to invite more camp leaders from across the world. And we were faced with the time zone problem, of course. We realized we couldn't serve the whole world, so we focused on Europe, Africa, Asia, like from Middle East to India and Nepal. Our classes began at 9 a.m. Greenwich Mean Time and ended at 5:30 p.m. Greenwich Mean Time. And also we had an opening session on the first day and a closing session on the very last day of the conference. We strongly prefer to teach our sessions live. That is why we had no pre-recorded sessions. The main reason why we love to teach our sessions live is that we at CCI Ukraine believe that live interaction is the soul of camping and is the soul of CCI, because live interaction builds community. Despite all of us sitting in front of our computers, we still want to communicate with one another, to see one another, to be together. Interestingly, Daphne Koller, a co-founder of Coursera, actually felt there needed to be something more engaging than Coursera for teaching people. And she founded a new education startup called Engagely. This startup declares a goal to replicate the social feeling of being present in a classroom. So we do our best just to get people involved. How do we manage interaction between the instructor and the students? We recommend to our instructors that their presentations should have 50 to 60 slides. If it's a 1 hour presentation, it should have 50 to 60 slides. It really helps to hold the students' attention when there is a new slide at least once every minute. And now I would like to get you engaged a little bit. I hope you all know where the Zoom chat is, because you're going to answer a question that I'm going to ask you right now. So my question is, how often should the instructor interact with the students using Zoom chat during a 1 hour Zoom session? If you think it should be done every 10 minutes, please type 10 into the Zoom chat. If you think, for example, it should be done every 20 minutes, please type 20. Or if you think it should be done every 3 minutes, please type 3. Let's wait a few seconds. Thank you very much. Thank you for typing. Thank you for giving your answers. We at CCI Ukraine recommend that instructors interact with the students every 5 minutes. And again, this interaction could be short questions with answers typed in the Zoom chat, like we've just done it. Or for example, we could say, please put a plus or a minus or a number if you think that, and then a few options. Or questions could be about where the students come from, their work or ministry background, or some questions that require a short phrase as an answer. Another way to engage the students is to use interactive tools like Slido or Mentimeter or opinion polls in Zoom. And finally, we always give the students the evaluation form that we have developed for every class, so the students can give their feedback and suggestions. Another important thing to mention is breakout group collaboration. As I mentioned earlier, collaboration is a big part of each of our events. It engages people, it helps them strike up new friendships, and provides the opportunity to interact with the new information they've just received. So to give enough space for collaboration, we split each webinar into 2 parts. 60 minutes for classroom instruction and 30 minutes for breakout group work. We break the students into groups of up to 6 people, and there is a pre-trained facilitator assigned to each group. the facilitator helps the students work together, keeps the time, and creates the desired atmosphere. And to conclude a virtual class, it's important to do a few things as well. First, and many students are really interested in it, tell the students when they are going to have access to the video recordings of this webinar and on what conditions. The students really want to know that. Secondly, give a follow-up assignment. This could be doing a group project as a team or doing a certification project individually. We did both in our events. And thirdly, again, evaluation forms at the end of each class. Send your students the link to fill in the class evaluation form after each class. You can send the link right into the Zoom chat. And in the final conclusion, a few insights we have gained regarding online events in the context of training camp leaders. You know, when doing a virtual event, you can expect less fun and less networking. Yet both fun and networking are still there. Just be more intentional about them. You can get to your training event more quality instructors who can be invited from all over the world. It's a real benefit of doing a conference online. And you can have more students who could not otherwise attend your events held offline. This could be somebody like babysitting moms, busy church leaders, or those who can't afford it financially. You can have your students use more computer and internet related opportunities when you teach them, so they can go online, look for something, look up some information. So that's all is at their fingertips. And in conclusion, running an online conference can be a good additional options in good times and the best option for big conferences during periods of COVID-19 lockdowns or restrictions. Well, I thank you for listening and for watching. The CCI Ukraine team and I can tell you more about our conference support staff, market research, pricing, video streaming, challenges that we encountered, etc., etc. Just feel free to ask your questions during our Q&A session. Thank you.
Wow, wonderful. Thank you for that. Experience of 2 conferences. There may be others that want to chip in about their experiences. And but I had a question for both of you, and perhaps Timmy first, then Vladimir. You talked about networking and fun. Did you have any experience, or have you got any suggestions about the sort of an activity people can do together? You know, in despite being all on screen, some sort of combined activity.
Yes, that's one big regret. When we sat down later at the conference debrief, we realized that we didn't plan sort of experiential activities into the program like we have in our camping conferences usually. So, but there are a lot of activities which I use for my virtual programs, and simple activities that can be with hand gestures, or but there are a lot of activities which can be done on a virtual platform. There are simple ones with props, without props, which can be done without preparation, which can be done, you know, where you preempt the participants to bring certain things, or you could spontaneously do the activities. So,
Vladimir, what about you?
Okay, in terms of networking, like as I said, we break the students up in groups of 6. Sometimes it's more than 6 people, but that's our goal, to do groups of 6. And those groups stay permanent. Like for the English language tracks this time in November, we didn't do that. But for the Russian and Ukrainian tracks, we did do that. So the students were broken up into permanent groups. That's number one. Number two, we use a chat. Like in Ukraine, we prefer to use Telegram. It's similar to WhatsApp, and all the students, they are part of that chat. Again, for the internationals, we didn't do that because we didn't know how they would take that sharing their information with each other without asking them. But with our people, just at registration, we just get them into the chat according to the courses, and then they are broken up into groups. And when we give an assignment, the group facilitator holds meetings with them, and they can have like morning Bible study, they can have evening coffee time, and during that time, they can work on their assignment. One of the assignments could be just prepare a video advertising for your camp or something like that. So that's one of the things that our people really liked, to meet together outside of our Zoom sessions and to come up with something. And then during our evening chapels, particularly that we had in spring every Friday for 5 weeks, they would present the results of their work. You can go on our YouTube channel, if like CCI YouTube /CCIUA, and it's all in Russian or Ukrainian, but if you look at our chapels, you can see some of those presentations.
Yeah, that's helpful. Thank you.
Would you like to do one now, Norman, quickly?
Oh, let's do one. Yeah, that sounds good. Yeah.
If it's possible to turn on your videos, please do so that we could also see you doing the activity. So if it's not, that's okay. And we have Francis also there with us. So let's do this. If you can raise your right hand, and take your index finger and see if you can, I call this virtual geometry, okay? So see if you can draw a triangle, okay? Triangle. Imagine there's these sophisticated TV serials, they have these CCI, all these detective with a screen is there. So imagine you're drawing it on one of those high-tech screen, a triangle, okay? Great, everybody's got it. Don't worry whether it's equilateral, isosceles, whatever the triangle is, just three-sided triangle. There's no other kind of triangle, but yeah. Okay, you got it? Try inverting it right now. If you have the apex on top, make the apex on the bottom right now. Good job. Now take your other right hand, okay, and draw a square. Okay. Draw a square. Awesome. Now start in the other direction. Wherever you started, that should be your ending point. Good one. Okay. Which was harder to draw? Square or triangle?
Square.
Both were easy, but which was harder?
Square.
Square. Why is that?
More corners.
Yes. More corners, yes. Okay. Now, okay, let's do this, okay? If you can put both your hands up, draw the triangle and the square. But draw the triangle and the square. Okay, some of you are going all over the place right now. Pavel is going, yeah. Ross is all, okay. I just want to ask you, why are you doing it together? I just said draw the triangle and the square. So maybe do it one at a time and then with this one, okay? Many times we do that in our daily life. We take on something which is unnecessary and then we have a problem with it. If we can actually plan and prioritize and do one at a time, we will accomplish more. But we take everything at the same time when it's not necessary. So, yep, thank you so much.
Excellent,
for doing that.
Yeah. Nice, yeah. Anyone else got any activities they've done on a virtual they could simply share with us? Or see if you can point at somebody. Let's see, we'll all point at Vicky. You got to find where Vicky is and all point at her. Where is she on your screen? You have to point towards her.
Well, Norman, okay.
Yeah. Go on, Vladimir.
Yeah, I just thought of one thing that I think it's important to mention, to add to our discussion, because it hasn't been mentioned yet, and we did have an experience with it. That's internet trolls. Yeah. So I think internet trolls could be a real problem, and for that reason, in the first place, don't run your events without registration. Like sometimes we would do our general meetings without registration. We just throw a link into Facebook and invite as many people as possible. We learned from experience that that could be dangerous, because those internet trolls, they get in and they write all kinds of bad words in the chat, like blasphemous words and all kinds of things. So don't, as a result, like one of the solutions, don't run open events without registration. Secondly, even if you have registration, you might get internet trolls sneaking in as legitimate participants to your free webinars or general sessions. So they identify themselves, as I said, by writing something in the chat or enabling their video or audio and doing some other bad things. Just ban them mercilessly. Just be ready for that. And also make sure you disable your settings from the very beginning, the settings for writing on the screen for your participants. Remember, at one of our sessions, each one of our participants was writing something on the screen. So disable that from the very beginning, because you can have some guys just writing all kinds of things there if it's enabled. And just be ready for the internet trolls. And one more thing, quickly. There are quite a few online event management systems that I saw some organizations use in connection with Zoom. One of them is whova.com, WHOVA.com. Another one that I saw, heysummit.com, HEY summit.com. So they are quite good. They allow you to integrate all your Zoom session links into one space, as well as your registration and payment and even cooperation. So if you can do it, please research those. They could be very helpful to run your conference. We did not use any of those systems because none of them are available in Russian or Ukrainian. So for our people, it doesn't work. But that would be a real help if you could afford and use.
Any other contributions, or suggestions, or comments, questions?
I've just got a question actually for Vladimir, because Timmy said that I think you had 10 kind of volunteers and then 5 working at one point. What was the number of people involved in your team, Vladimir?
That was outrageous. That was a total of 52 people that were involved. Of them, like 8 technical support people, or the moderators, because we had 7 parallel tracks. So one was the troubleshooter and 7 were managing each of the 7 parallel tracks. Then we had 25 breakout group facilitators, like 5 people doing the general sessions, like singing and emceeing, and a designer, graphics designer, and marketologist, and all kinds of things. So we had 52 people altogether, plus 38 instructors, because most of our instructors taught 1 or 2 sessions. That was crazy. I mean, it was rewarding at the end, but in the process, that required every piece and bit and piece of concentration on our team to keep all that together.
Wow, we're smiling at that one because the CCI worldwide team of Vicky, myself, and Jenny are running 5 conferences next year, regional conferences around the world, and so we'll have to think of how to do that. And also for those regional gatherings, the dates have been published. Any ideas you have for content or activities, or if you want to contribute to those in your region, then please let us know.
Norman, can I share a few things what I did in the conference? I'm sorry, my video is not working. So just with audio, I'm connecting here. Actually, we had a WhatsApp group parallelly run for the conference along with volunteers and organizing people. So we said 10 people. We have a separate WhatsApp group. Each and every activity, I can one by one, I pasted it. So they all got allotted. That's the point one. And second thing, the host, maybe I think we need 150 Mbps speed for internet. It's good to give a live streaming videos. And the third one, Google Slides. Actually we prefer to go Google Slides because if Q&A support assistant dropped out due to the poor connection, so the next person, we all together, the slides also, we have added more people. So the next person take in charge immediately. So we opted Google Slides. And the system configuration, maybe I think minimum 8 GB of RAM or 8 to 16 GB of RAM is very helpful. Or Core i5 minimum is required. Thank you.
Any final questions for Timmy or Vladimir, or final comments?
Norman, just to quickly share, answer your other question about an activity which can be used like a quick icebreaker to open up for people to speak, is to, if you have breakout room facility, then you could send them into random breakout rooms, not in, where region they come from and stuff like that, and give them a question to talk about, like some random wild kind of a question, nothing connected with what's happening. Like if you had unlimited money, no problem with the leave from your associations or the jobs where you're working, where would you go, and when would you come back? Let them go there and talk about it. Then bring them back, ask people to share some interesting thoughts, then send them again for a second one. And this time the question could be, you've actually run out of money halfway through your holiday. What are you going to do? There's zero money left. How would you return home? So things like that. And people have come up with some interesting and wild answers. So it really generates, opens up people to talk and to break a lot of ice. So.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, the icebreakers are. Yeah. So when on Zoom, it's always nice to have props, but you've got to be very careful of doing it, and you've got to make sure you've prepped people beforehand. So you can't say, okay, everybody go find a something once they're all sitting down and ready. But you can say, when you come to the meeting, bring something that you can hold in your hand that is very meaningful to you. And everybody will bring something different. Someone might bring a knife, someone might bring a Bible or a watch or something. And then no one really knows what it's for yet. And then as an icebreaker, and again, if you've got a smallish group, you don't need to go into breakout rooms. But if you've got a massive group, then you obviously do need to go to breakout rooms. And just getting people to chat, it doesn't have to be directly related to the topic. And you can say, okay, you guys need to make an animal out of your 6 objects. How would you make an animal? So you've got 6 people chatting about their objects and what it is and what it means to them, and how they could make an animal. 6 different objects, just as an icebreaker to get people talking and chatting and getting to know each other in a group that they might be in for quite a while, before diving straight into serious stuff with people you hardly even know.
Yeah, I think that's good. My experience of Zoom is that it can be quite intensive, can be quite tiring. So if you can come up with something which sort of breaks the ice, you have a bit of a laugh, you have a bit of a banter, it seems to sort of make it an easier experience. And perhaps that's a thought sometimes for some of the presenters who are maybe doing an hour and a half or 2 hours. Somewhere in the middle, you need a break of some sort, whether it's an activity break or a comfort break or coffee break. Have any of you had experience of doing anything with meals, food. I mean, one thing we've done just socially here in the UK, we've actually said to someone, let's share a meal together, but we'll do it virtually. So we'll have you at the end of the table with an iPad or whatever, and we'll talk, and oh, how's your prawns, and how's the sausage going, and it creates a sort of a social event. I don't know how you could do it in a bigger scale, but or a coffee and a cookie together or something.
Our final event at the November conference was called Prayer Snack. So we encouraged people to bring their favorite drink and their favorite food to bite on, and to light up a candle and create, and for everybody to come with wearing kind of white clothes, basically white t-shirt or something, or white blouse for ladies, so something like that, just to create some additional atmosphere.
We did like a PJ party with a group of teenagers, and we did like no baking, no stove, like maybe a little bit of a stove, but like a chocolate pudding that they could do themselves. So they didn't need, it wasn't too complicated, it wasn't too many ingredients. It was something we knew everyone in that particular group could afford, and they could also get the ingredients. So we made sure it was like I think it was a 3-ingredient chocolate pudding, and then we just did it together live. So we made, so we told them beforehand, get these ingredients ready, get these utensils ready, keep it with you. And then when we had a cooking session together, we just sat together and each one like just put their stuff in front of each other, mixed it, and then put it in the fridge. And then we had games and everything. And then at the end, towards the end, we all got it out of the fridge and just sat together, eating it, and each one just showing it to each other, like, oh, look at my. So that was nice. We didn't try cooking together before. Like, I mean, a simple dish, but yeah, it came out actually pretty well, and we wanted to keep doing more of that. Yeah.
So I want to share that in Panama we did 2 campfires. So to set the mood, we put the sound of the fire, and also we put the picture of the fire moving, and we told people to decor all the setting of the campfire, so people got like really creative, and to bring in a snack like to buy marshmallows and to bring hot coffee. Coffee or cocoa or whatever they wanted to bring, to be creative and to bring a word in. Maybe it was like the wood for the fire, so they were in like a word to put into the wood to share with people. So that was really creative, and because they decor all of it, and they got really creative. So that was really awesome. And in the small groups, they share the meals. So they were like eating all together. So that was pretty awesome.
You know, another interesting thing was just to ask the people to take a picture of what's happening in their room or at their table behind their computer screen right now in the real life. And then sharing those pictures. So as I said, all our students were in the WhatsApp kind of groups, so they could just take a picture right now, what's happening there. It could be a gas stove with food boiling, or for somebody, for others, it's something neat and tidy. For somebody, it's a dog sitting right there and watching at the people, and they just take the picture and put it into the into the chat, and that's a lot of fun.
Good, some good ideas. Well, if you have more ideas, please let us know. Is there anything that you would not do again, that you tried to do and it just didn't really work? Like, don't do this. We did it and it didn't work.
Well, you know, at the end of the conference, we felt we would never do so much at such a short time, like 70 hours of instruction in 3 days. So probably we would never do it again. I mean, it's rewarding when you have done it, but that's really, if something goes wrong, and we had one thing go wrong and we fixed it, but still, if 2 things went wrong at the same time, then it would have been collapse.
Mm.
So, I mean, we're happy, God blessed, and everything worked, but probably jamming so much into 3 days, I think we wouldn't do it.
Okay, that's been really good, really helpful, and thank you, Timmy. Thank you, Vladimir, for sharing with us and others as well.